Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni are clashing in what could be one of the biggest legal battles in Hollywood history. This has resulted in Blake losing hundreds of thousands of followers and getting compared with Amber Heard on social media. It started with the two doing a movie together, but what seemed like a fun collaboration quickly spiraled into an ugly dispute. And here's the thing, this entire situation is still spiraling, with new information and accusations dropping almost daily. So if there's something I haven't covered here, it's because the story is still unfolding, and it could get much worse. Blake Lively has accused Justin of orchestrating a smear campaign against her, and is suing him for alleged sexual harassment behind the scenes. Justin responded by publishing a 168-page document disproving her claims, while also accusing her of using toxic and manipulative tactics during the production of their film, and filing a $400 million countersuit against Blake and her husband Ryan Reynolds for defamation and allegedly trying to steal his movie. But things have only gotten more heated since. Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I create weekly YouTube documentaries, and today, we'll be diving into what's quickly shaping up to be one of the most intense celebrity clashes in recent history. But before we get into the latest developments, let's take a step back and start from the very beginning, with the man who's in the middle of it all, Justin Baldoni. For those who don't know, Justin is an American actor and director, best known for his role in the TV show Jane the Virgin. He's been in the industry for over 20 years at this point, and even co-founded his own production company, Wayfarer Studios, in 2019, which opened the door for him to step into directing. This also gave him the opportunity to adapt the 2016 best-selling novel It Ends With Us into a film. He was a big fan of the novel himself and wanted to cast the best person he could for the lead role of Lily, the novel's protagonist. And that's where Blake Lively entered the picture. She was announced as the person Justin chose for the role of Lily in January of 2023, and the fans couldn't have been happier. Blake had been a part of Hollywood since 1998. She became extremely popular for her role in the TV show Gossip Girl, and this was before she married Ryan Reynolds in 2012, who was known as the sexiest man alive around that time. Blake was also friends with many A-list celebrities, including a close friendship with Taylor Swift, boosting her popularity through the roof. Put simply, Blake was a massive star with millions of fans willing to watch everything she appeared in. Casting her as the film's lead was a smart move on Justin's part, or at least that's how he saw it at the time. With everything that's going on now, it's safe to say that he probably regrets that choice. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Rewinding back a little, filming for the movie started in May of 2023, with it eventually coming out in August of 2024. And to everyone's surprise, it was a massive hit, earning over $350 million with a shoestring budget of just $25 million. However, the path to get here was anything but smooth, particularly for Blake, as she became the target of online ridicule on multiple occasions before the film even came out. Like when pictures of her set leaked on the internet and fans of the novel did not like her outfit choices for the character of Lily. You see, one of the primary themes of the novel is about domestic violence and the negative effects it can have on a person's life, which is why Blake's bright and colorful outfit choices felt so out of place, with one person on TikTok writing, like, "She's fine and I can get past the cast, but these outfits, they are not it." The criticism also extended to several mainstream outlets, with Time magazine in a later article stating, "It Ends With Us is no whimsical romance, it's a pretty dark movie about an undeniably grim topic," which is why the costuming for the film, a mismatched fever dream of workwear, sparkles, and bohemian fantasy, isn't just a bad fit for the story, it's a jarring distraction. But this was only the beginning, because Blake got into hot water again not long after starting the press tour for the movie. As we've already mentioned, one of the central themes of the novel, and by extension, the movie, is domestic violence, a real and serious issue that affects many people. However, during many of her promotional interviews for the movie, Blake seemed cheery and bubbly, even cracking jokes when discussing the disheartening theme of the movie.
So if someone understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share? Or I could just location share you and then we could
A day before the movie came out, she also uploaded a video of her promoting the movie alongside her female co-stars on Instagram. But instead of taking things a bit more seriously, she spent the video discussing zodiac signs and talking about what kind of jobs they would have if they had to pick new ones.
And we are all in the movie It Ends With Us. I have some prompts for questions. If we could quit our jobs, what would we like to do?
and laughing.
This is throwing me off.
It's more clear. More clear, less clear.
Much less clear, but that's okay.
And just like the colorful outfits, this cheery behavior didn't go over well with the fans of the original work. They saw this as extremely tone-deaf and irresponsible, with one very disappointed person commenting, "You don't have the maturity required to respectfully represent the audience you are depicting in this film. I'm deeply disappointed to witness the flighty tone and bubble-headed manner used in promotion of a story about a deadly serious subject." The backlash had got bad enough that she had to disable comments on this video to avoid further criticism. However, this didn't stop fans from discussing it elsewhere on the internet, with some even comparing her approach to promoting the film with Justin's.
This is your night, mister.
No, this isn't my night. This is a night for all the women who we made this movie for.
It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
However, this comparison between Blake and Justin also brought up an issue that would later spiral into the colossal clash it is today. It started when during the promotion of the movie, fans began noticing some odd behavior from the two lead actors, like not following each other on social media, and more importantly, despite starring as a couple in the movie, the two were rarely seen together during press interviews and other promotional events. This had fans questioning if there was some kind of feud going on behind the scenes. But before the actors could address these rumors themselves, TMZ came out with an exclusive scoop on the 14th of August 2024, claiming to have all the answers. According to their report, the tension between Justin and Blake was very real and stemmed from two main instances. The first one had to do with the scene in which Justin's character had to lift Blake into the air. And apparently, Justin went to the on-set trainer before filming the scene and asked how much Blake weighed. This made her feel fat-shamed, especially since she had just given birth to a youngest son, Olin, just a few months ago in February. The second instance involved a kissing scene between the two leads, and according to TMZ, Justin lingered on this kiss scene longer than he should have, which made Blake feel extremely uncomfortable on set. These were serious allegations from a massive name in Hollywood. If true, they could easily ruin Justin's reputation and endanger any future projects. Justin realized this as well, and immediately hired the same crisis management PR firm Johnny Depp had during his defamation trial against Amber Heard. However, despite the TMZ story doing rounds on the internet, things stayed relatively calm for the next few months. That is, until December 2024, when Justin had to face not one, but two potentially career-ending incidents. On the 21st of December, Blake Lively filed a legal complaint against Justin and many other execs at his production company, Wayfarer Studios, including the CEO, Jamie Heath. This legal complaint contained two key accusations, the first of which was about the many instances of alleged sexual harassment she faced during the filming of It Ends With Us. These included things like Jamie Heath showing a fully uncovered video of his wife giving birth, Justin entering her makeup trailer uninvited multiple times while she was undressed, including when she was breastfeeding her infant child, Justin and Jamie talking about their quote previous addiction, and Justin improvising intimate scenes including numerous kisses without the presence of an intimacy coordinator. These allegations painted Justin to be a sexual deviant who doesn't know when he's crossing the line, and the public backlash to these allegations was almost immediate. An important thing to note about Justin is that he'd been very vocal about feminism and women's rights up until that point. He also spoke extensively about the core DV-related themes of the movie during his press tour, showcasing his deeper understanding of women's issues.
I think it's very easy to say, especially for us men, is when we maybe talk to somebody who's in this situation, or we read a book, or we hear a news story, the question that's always asked is, why did she stay? And that's the wrong question.
Yeah.
What we need to be asking ourselves is, why do men harm?
And a large portion of his fan base, especially the women, really respected him for it. They admired his willingness to talk about these topics, where many other male actors might choose to stay silent. So these allegations of sexual harassment felt like a gut punch to these loyal fans who suddenly lost the trust they had in him, with a tweet with over 20,000 likes stating, "To see how this man who advocated so much against abuse towards women, and then to find out he sexually harassed Blake on the set of the movie that is heavily focused on domestic violence is not only disappointing, but so cruel and scary. F Justin Baldoni." Though some still had hope that these allegations were nothing more than a lie. No, you didn't find out he abused her, you heard allegations that are yet to be proven. Maybe, just maybe, Blake Lively is trying to clear her image. Regardless of the truth, these allegations alone were enough to turn Justin's life upside down. In addition to losing his near-perfect reputation, Justin was also dropped by his agency almost immediately, cutting off major opportunities in Hollywood. Earlier in December, he was given the Women's Solidarity Award by the non-profit Vital Voices, which focuses on empowering women around the world. And as you might imagine, the organization rescinded this award days after the allegations came out, and all of this was caused by the first half of the complaint. The second half, however, betrayed an even darker side to Justin's personality behind the scenes. The second key allegation Blake made against Justin was that since she spoke up about the sexual harassment during production, Justin hired a PR team to destroy her reputation online. This also coincided with an article from New York Times titled "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine." Put simply, this article and Blake's legal complaint alleged that the online backlash she received for her mismatched outfits and cheery tone in interviews wasn't because people were genuinely angry at her. Instead, they stemmed from a coordinated attack from Justin and his PR team to discredit her online. Blake also included dozens of text screenshots supporting her claims in the complaint, including texts from one PR executive to the other reading, "The narrative online is so freaking good, and fans are still sticking up for Justin, and there has literally been no pickup of those two articles, which is actually shocking to me. But I see this as a total success, as does Justin. You did such amazing work. Narrative is crazy good, so did you." The majority of socials are pro-Justin, and I don't even agree with half of them, lol. By this point, Justin Baldoni's reputation was in ruins. Had things ended here, Justin would have likely never found work in Hollywood again. However, he wasn't going to go down without a fight. On New Year's Eve, Justin filed a $250 million lawsuit against New York Times for allegedly misrepresenting the truth and twisting facts to support their unfounded claims. By the same day, Blake also went all in and elevated her accusations from a legal complaint to an official lawsuit. Blake's and New York Times lawyers also released a statement a few days later, saying, "We plan to vigorously defend against the lawsuit." In other words, they were willing to fight Justin and his team in court. What they didn't know at this time was that this $250 million lawsuit was just the teaser. Justin and his legal team had a full comeback in mind, which started a little over 2 weeks later on the 16th of January, when Justin filed another $400 million defamation lawsuit, this time directly against Blake and Ryan Reynolds, accusing them of attempting to destroy his reputation and career. 5 days later, on January 21st, his team also released a 10-minute unedited video from the set to disprove her claims of sexual harassment. The video opened with a statement explaining its purpose, reading, "Miss Lively's complaint alleges that during a scene, Mr. Baldoni and Miss Lively were filming for a slow dance montage. Mr. Baldoni was behaving inappropriately. The following videos, captured on May 23rd, 2023, clearly refutes Miss Lively's characterization of his behavior. The scene in question was designed to show the two characters falling in love and longing to be close to one another. Both actors are clearly behaving well within the scope of the scene and with mutual respect and professionalism. These are all 3 takes filmed of the sequence," and then went on to show Blake and Justin acting out this scene as mentioned in the script, including footage of Blake laughing and having a good time, showing no signs of discomfort.
Oh my gosh, we don't shut up.
And Emily and I have we have these moments where
Staring, you just stare.
Literally we've done it for like 5 minutes. it's like, I think you would find it terrifying. We just literally look at each other and
A viewer also pointed out the very ending of this recording session, which, according to them, showed Justin's lack of interest in Blake after the cameras were cut, stating, "Very telling when he said 'cut, we have plenty' and just walked away. He didn't linger with her or watch her walk away. He showed no interest after the scene, which shows he was acting during the dance scene." And while this video addressed only one tiny portion of the massive lawsuit against Justin, it still showed him that a comeback was possible. On January 22nd, Ryan and Blake filed for a gag order, which would prevent Justin from releasing any more lawsuit-related material to the public. This gag order was later approved on the 4th of February. The judge stated that he would move up the trial date if the case continued to be litigated in the press. Unfortunately for Ryan and Blake, this was too little too late, because on the 1st of February, Justin launched an entire website titled Lawsuit Info to the public. This website featured his amended complaint, as well as a 168 pages long document detailing the entire timeline of events with receipts, starting from the first time he contacted Colleen Hoover, the author of the It Ends With Us book. This timeline of events also included counter-arguments for almost every single allegation Blake made against him. For instance, in her complaint, Blake mentioned the lack of an intimacy coordinator on set, which went against the contract she signed. But on his website, Justin included screenshots of texts between him, Blake, and a producer. In these texts, he informed Blake about hiring the intimacy coordinator, and later told the producer that Blake was the one who didn't want to meet the said intimacy coordinator and that this might mess up the workflow. The website also included handwritten notes Justin took after meeting this coordinator. In her original complaint, Blake also went against the scoop from TMZ and claimed that the lifting scene didn't even exist. In other words, the fat shaming she experienced had no logical explanation. But on Ryan's website, he included a section of the script which clearly states, Ryle, Justin's character, scoops her up, indicating that the scene was indeed real, which is why Justin asked for her weight, as he wanted to train for it to avoid accidentally injuring himself or her. One section of this timeline also went into detail about the New York Times article, and how, according to research done by Justin's team, Blake and the New York Times worked together to defame Justin. Because after some digging into the article's code, they discovered that part of it was indexed on search engines on December 10th. So the New York Times was allegedly working on the article at least 11 days before Blake filed her complaint. In other words, they were already aware of what the legal complaint was going to be about, and were possibly working closely with Blake's team. On the topic of the New York Times, his amended complaint also included evidence to show how they manipulated the truth. For example, one of the texts from his PR executive that New York Times showed in their article said, "You really outdid yourself with this piece." However, according to Justin, they failed to include the upside down smiling emoji at the end of this text, which indicates sarcasm. This might seem like a small detail, but the exclusion of this emoji takes the message's meaning from "things are not going good" regarding to the backlash Blake was receiving to "you are doing great," suggesting that the recipient was the mastermind behind the backlash. But that's not all, because in addition to rebuking claims made against him, Justin's website also included dozens of brand new allegations against Blake and her husband Ryan, the most significant of which includes everything Blake did to take control of the movie. For instance, according to Justin, Blake rewrote the dialogue for a scene to make it more quote floaty and yummy. But when Justin didn't agree to change the script according to her wishes, she went on the offensive. She allegedly invited Justin to her home, where Ryan and another mega celebrity friend, who Lively describes as her dragons, in reference to Game of Thrones, pressured him to go with Blake's edit. Now, while Justin doesn't name this mega celebrity in this section, most people believe that he's talking about Taylor Swift, who, as we established earlier, was quite close to Blake. That said, this was only the tip of the iceberg. Justin also accused Blake and Ryan of taking control of the wardrobe and disregarding the outfits chosen by the styling team, firing Justin's composer on her own, forcing her way into the editing room with a personal editor to make a cut of her own, essentially becoming the second editor, screening her cuts without Justin or Wayfarer's approval at events, and worst of all, forcing Justin and his family to celebrate in the basement during the film's premiere. Now, I should mention at this point that these are nothing more than allegations. While they do include some conclusive-looking evidence, none of this has been proven in a court of law. However, the court of public opinion doesn't have the patience to wait for the court's rulings, which is why, after this website came out, the general sentiment quickly shifted towards supporting Justin and hating on Blake. This wave of backlash also reached Ryan, who, as we mentioned earlier, is losing followers on social media, and is getting called out for seemingly faking fan interactions to boost his perceived popularity. The allegation about forcing his family to the basement was especially infuriating for some fans, with a tweet with over 10,000 likes reading, "The fact that Justin Baldoni was made to celebrate the success of his own film in the basement with his entire family, away from the A-lister spotlight, while Ryan and Blake partied upstairs, is absolutely atrocious. Justice for Justin. F. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds." That said, if we assume for a second that Justin is telling the truth, and this whole thing was orchestrated by Blake and Ryan, it brings up an important question. Why? Why would she risk ruining someone else's career? What could she possibly gain? Well, according to internet sleuths, she allegedly did all of this to essentially steal the movie from Justin. The author of the original book is on Blake's side throughout all of this, and expressed the desire to work with her for a potential sequel.
Exclusive. I'm exclusive. Calling her.
What? Sorry, what? You can have a what? A sequence. Like it starts with this.
I mean, if Colleen has her rights, I'll go anywhere. I'll follow this woman anywhere.
Y'all heard her.
And since working on writing, costume, and editing allowed her to get a producer credit on It Ends With Us, it will make it easier for Blake to secure funding and support for these hypothetical sequels. Then again, this is all pure speculation. Maybe we'll learn the truth after the case reaches court on March 9th, 2026. That's still a long way off, but the two parties are still going at each other in the meantime. On the 13th of February, for example, Blake's team subpoenaed records of Justin Baldoni and others involved in the case from phone and internet companies. This forced Justin's team to move quickly and try to block this request, stating that Blake and Ryan are quote, "not the FBI." And while all of this was going on, Blake also filed an amended complaint on February 18th. According to this updated lawsuit, she isn't the only person Justin harassed on set, and that 2 more women will come forward during trial. This made people curious about who these 2 women could be, as their names were omitted from the amended complaint. After some digging from the public, reports began circulating the internet that one of these women was Jenny Slate, Justin and Blake's co-star in the movie. This is because Jenny openly voiced her support for Blake back in December 2024, stating, "As Blake Lively's castmate and friend, I voice my support as she takes action against those reported to have planned and carried out an attack on her reputation. Blake is a leader, loyal friend, and trusted source of emotional support for me, and so many who know and love her. What has been revealed about the attack on Blake is terribly dark, disturbing, and wholly threatening. I commend my friend, I admire her bravery, and I stand by her side." More importantly, it came out that Jenny already filed a complaint with Sony regarding an interaction with Jamie Heath, the producer and CEO of Wayfarer Studios. The issue arose when she voiced her dissatisfaction with the apartment she received for the shoot. Jamie offered to pay the $15,000 security deposit to help her move. However, according to her complaint, his comments on the sanctity of motherhood and her role as a mother made her uncomfortable. It's also important to note that at this point, Jenny's involvement in the case is nothing more than speculation. Jenny might not be one of the women Blake mentioned in her amended complaint, especially since these 2 women would supposedly testify against Justin, when Jenny's past complaint had nothing to do with him. But that didn't stop some people from treating it as a fact, and in turn, ripping into Jenny for what they see as entitlement, with one person writing, "Oh, how dare that guy express how important motherhood is. Oh, how dare he accommodate you. How dare he offer to cover a massive expense. Jenny and Blake are both delusional." Since filing her amended complaint, Blake and Ryan have secured a protective order that prevents certain private and sensitive information from becoming public. Some are classifying this as a win for the couple. However, many are also seeing this as an attempt from Blake and Ryan to hide names of their celebrity friends, like Taylor Swift, with a popular tweet even referring to it as the quote, "Taylor Swift clause." That said, this doesn't matter much in the long run, since this protection is only active during the discovery period. It will likely go away once the case goes to trial, and that's where things stand at the time of writing. This is still a rapidly moving case with new details coming out almost daily. Not only that, but it can get even crazier if someone like Taylor Swift gets dragged into court as well. No matter how this plays out, one thing is certain: whoever gets caught lying in the end risks ruining their career forever. If you want to stay updated on this situation, make sure you subscribe right now.